All right. Here we are again on another Friday and another ZD TV. Hopefully my audio is okay. Restream. We use Restream here to do these Restream events, and they've mucked with the UI in a way that I haven't grokked yet. So any problems in the stream, I apologize in advance. All right. Well, what are we doing today? Today we are looking at a working session and office hours. A lot of things been going on within the OpenZiti realm lately, most of which is centered around HA controllers. And so we've been doing a lot of work there, doing a lot of testing, doing that sort of stuff. And so that's what we're up to. And because of that, we haven't added not any new features that I remember off the top of my head with respect to OpenZiti. So I thought there's been a lot of interest in zrok lately. Why don't we take a tour through zrok? Why don't we do an office hours? If anybody has any questions, do feel free to throw them into the chat, and I am yours for the next hour if you're interested. All right. Well, that is the situation. Let me turn off the PowerPoint share and bring back my terminal window. And let's get ourselves started here. All right. So actually, let's go on over to the zrok website for a moment. Let's make a new window. And let's go to zrok.io. If you haven't been out to zrok, don't know what zrok is, go right ahead and check it out. Read all about it. It's this really cool sharing platform built around and on top of OpenZiti, where it'll allow you to do things like private sharing or public sharing all through, well, I guess not all through, but mostly through the OpenZiti overlay network when you're doing the private sharing. Doesn't require you to open holes in your firewall, which is great, and is self-hostable, all open source. Oh, you can always click on the old GitHub icon up here. Let's make it bigger and go on over to the zrok GitHub repository. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a little star. Click in this little star button right here. Make sure you do support the project. It does help us get the word out to other people that, there's this cool project called zrok out there, and you can check it out. All right, so today what I'm going to go through is I maintain my own little set of scripts that I use to install zrok and OpenZiti and browser. I install them all together, and the README probably works. So if you're interested, you can check that out. It's not on the official channel, although I'm promoting it here just because this is the sort of thing that I use and maintain. And if we want to look at what this thing does, we can go through piece by piece. But the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to come out to my zrok environment, and I wanted to reinstall that zrok env by, let's see, what did I call this? ZDTV, zrok. All right, let's just do an ls. Okay, tral. And see what I called it. All right, so there is an env file that's needed. So if we take a look at this env file, you can see some stuff up here that you need to fill out first. I've already pre-seeded a lot of the stuff with ZDTV, 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 ZDTV. And because I have browser in this environment and cooking, I have Keycloak. And so this thing will go through and install all of this. Keycloak will get installed by a Docker. Going to need Docker. But I can go ahead and use this particular, let's do the reinstall. I can use this answer file or environment file with my little script there, and we'll see what happens. It should go through and it should delete everything, and it should just start deploying the entire little OpenZiti world. So there's my OpenZiti world getting deployed. If we look in here, it should tell me what my password is right there. Password has been overridden to ZDTV. Feel free to muck with it if you want to go log on to my server during the live stream. I'm gonna delete it afterwards anyway. But that's my password to my controller. So after the ZDTV is done, it will not be the password to my controller. I'll rerun this with my normal username and password. So what it's doing now is OpenZiti is following the quick start. Now, Ken has been doing some good work with the deployments guide, and at some point, the quick starts will probably leverage that deployments stuff. So if you come down to the main OpenZiti IO site, go ahead and actually let me put a crawl on here that says ask any questions. Let's see, where's my chat? I want to put it on a crawl. How do I do that? Captions? Yeah. Feel free to ask any questions. Add and click. There we go. All right. Well, now my video is. Can I move my video? Can I put it up here? Nope. All right, Restream. We'll have to fix that too. Let's do it this way. No, that's no good. Let's just take my video and hide it. Oh, that's too big. We want to go smaller than that. Do it this way. That'll work. All right, cool. Hopefully that's legible. So out here deploying to production, there is a Linux controller guide, a router guide, and Ken's doing some good work around this stuff. At the moment, since I've made it, I use the quick starts, and that's what's going on over here. That's why you see this kind of convoluted CA chain that gets created. Then it goes through, it sets up a router, it configures that router, it enrolls that router, it makes sure everything's running, it downloads the Ziti admin console, and then deflates it into this particular location. So this is 3.3.1, and then sets up a zrok environment, and everything should be good at the end of this. Yeah. So everything looks like it ran. Let's go on over to controller.clint on Zach and put in our username and password. And control. Oh, I don't need a controller name. Local. Why is this asking? Okay. Well, there's a fun one for you. If you're watching out there, Ryan, that should not happen. Okay. Why are you giving me shenanigans here? Unable to log in. Why is it being a problem? I don't need that. Ziti. Huh. Okay. Well, let's see if we can log into Ziti itself. Ziti Edge login. Let's do controller.clint. Actually, let me clear this and make it even bigger. There we go. Ziti Edge login controller.clint.demo.openziti.org 8441. Okay. Source.ziti quick start ip.env. That'll put Ziti on my path. Let's clear that out. That's that clear, and then I want to do the login again. Okay, admin is wrong. -u is ZDTV. Okay, we got a problem here. Let's look at ZDTV. Oh, okay. That's because I did not set the Ziti admin user. That makes sense. Let's come back to here, type in our username and password. That is wrong. This is what I want, admin. ZDTV. There we go. We did it. All right. Congratulations, everybody. And you'll see we have 3 services already created for us that little script ended up doing. So we've logged into OpenZiti. That's cool. Next thing we want to do is check out zrok. So let's go to api.clint. And then this is going to be on the zrok port. Let's see what zrok port I used. Front end port 8445. Sorry, the Nginx port. That's the one I want to use, 8445. And I am logged in, which I should not be. So let's try this again. There it is. And I think I use ZDTV at ZDTV. All right, now I'm logged in with ZDTV at ZDTV. And so now I can enable my environment. Let's see, do we have any chat messages? Chat. Where's chat? There it is. All right, cool. Enable my environment. There'll be a token here that is safe and secure. This is a password. Do not share this on a live stream like I just did. If you do, you'll have to recreate your zrok token. So let's do a zrok. See if we have zrok on our path. We do. Zrok disable. Nothing enabled. So now we can go ahead and zrok enable. And now, since I'm running this on the same machine that I have started my Ziti environment on, I should be able to do not zrok, Ziti. I want to do a zrok share public localhost 8441. And when I do that, I should get this share. And then when I come out to here, I've got a problem. 8441 is, it's HTTPS, yeah. Connection reset by peer. Does it not like curl to HTTPS localhost :8441 -sk? Okay, so maybe I have to use insecure because the OpenZiti overlay network doesn't have. Is it insecure? Yeah. Do this. Come over to here. Refresh. Interesting. So we got a problem. We are getting a private share correctly. It is proxying. Does it? It goes to 8445. It's a different share. Error proxying. Connection reset by peer. Oh, that's interesting. I did not expect this. Let's go to version. Can't get the version. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Let's try something different. Let's make a zrok test endpoint. And then cd back to zrok. And then let's do a zrok share public localhost 9. Oh, did I not do HTTPS? That might be why. 9191, I think. Is it not 91? Is it 9090? Net, so SS minus LNTP. And we'll see, it's port 9000. All right, now that should work. There it goes. Okay, so that share does work. I pointed it to the wrong thing, apparently. Where's my test endpoint? Is it 9001? Let's close the test endpoint. Let's run Nope. Let's run SS again. It is not 9001. I thought it was 9191. Let's do help. Test endpoint. 9090. That's my bad. That is my bad. Test endpoint. And now we'll share 9090. And now, hey, there we go. Now we have a test endpoint. Fantastic. So that's a public URL. Anybody in the world can get there. I've already deployed OpenZiti. I have a virtual private server. It's out on the public internet. I've already set up the domain we used Route 53 for Amazon for this. You can use whatever one you like. And so now we have public sharing working, private sharing will working as well. Let's take a look at some of the other. Let's go back and look at the README from zrok itself. Let's go to zrok. GitHub.com /OpenZiti zrok, and let's look at the changelog that's been released in releases. See what there's interesting that's been going on. 434 is released a couple weeks ago. Linux service support for all private share modes. Well, that's cool. A couple of fixes, a couple of changes. Fix, change. Feature new permission mode. Oh, that's cool for public front ends. Open permission mode front ends. Available to all users in the service instance. Closed permission model for front ends. Reference the new front end grants table that can be used. Let's look at that. Let's see if the doc has. Oops, why didn't that control? Okay, now because we're going to go to doc. No, not docs. Front end grants. I don't see a grants in here. Let's look for permissions. Oh, we can do OAuth. I didn't even consider doing OAuth. We should actually, I've never tried doing OAuth, so let's do that. So we have a Keycloak instance. Let's go to Keycloak. It's on 8446, admin console. So we do have a Keycloak instance, and I should have a Ziti realm inside of here, and I can make a new client. Do I have a new client? I could create a client. Call it OpenID Connect, client ID, ZDTV, ZDTV, and click Next. And direct branch, we don't know, we don't need. We probably want just the standard flow. And then client authentication. Oh, that's what I want. I'm not a pro when it comes to Keycloak. Again, if any questions, feel free to ask. This defines the type of the ORDC client. When it's on, the ORDC type is set to confidential access. When it's off, it's set to private. Let me make this bigger because I see that it's not quite big enough. I'm pretty sure we just need the standard flow. Let's see, root URL, home URL, valid redirects. All right, so I probably should go read the doc. I am, as you noticed, always one of those people that just goes and tries to goof around and figure something out. All right, let's read the doc. As of 447, Zrok includes OAuth for both Google and GitHub for Zrok Access Public. Okay, so it doesn't mention Keycloak. This integration allows for you to create public shares. This is the first step towards a more comprehensive portfolio. Planning for the OAuth front end. The current implementation of the OAuth public front end uses an HTTP listener to handle redirects from OAuth providers. You'll need to configure a DNS name for the port for this listener that is accessible for your front end users. For this OAuth front end, we'll use the public DNS address of the OAuth front end when creating the Google and GitHub OAuth. Okay, well, I haven't done that. I don't want to do that on the stream because I wanted to use Keycloak. So if I have to use one of those two, I guess maybe we'll skip out on enabling OAuth at this time. But you can obviously see, you can follow OAuth and have, oh, by the way, OAuth, what is OAuth? That's the single sign-on that people think about when you go to a website and it asks you to redirect to GitHub or Facebook or Google or whatever, and then you can log in. Zrok does support that. So let's go back and look. Oh, I was reading the release notes instead. Where are my release notes? They were here. Releases right there. Okay. This is what we were going to try OIDC, but that didn't work out because I don't want to configure it on screen because you'll see my actual client ID and whatnot, and those are secrets. New feature, limit classes. Yeah, so this is a feature that was introduced mostly for the Zrok.io, which allows the software as a service or the network as a service to implement the limits. What's your favorite capability of Zrok? We do have a question from Rudford. Personally, my favorite capability of Zrok is the speed in which you can share something publicly and transiently. What does that mean? Well, let's say I have a secret. Let's see. Actually, let me make a directory called ZDTV. Oh, okay. Let's make a directory called Zrok TV. It was CD to Zrok TV, and now we will VI my secret password file like this. Okay. Oh, and I see that it is hiding the secret password file. How I'm going to make that, let's see if I do this, then it'll stay on. I got to go back and throw up the other question. And then here's my, here is the super secret password. And so my favorite particular feature is actually the Zrok share public backend mode web for dot. And so then I come here, and then now I can get to that secret. You could get to that secret password file, click on it, get the super secret password, and then Control C, and now that thing is gone forever. So it is a TLS enabled download endpoint all through Zrok. that is incredibly transient, incredibly hard to guess. I could also protect that with a basic username and password. So if I do help on this, you can see, let me make this bigger again and scroll this up. You can see I can do basic auth, basic authentication users, username and password. So I could protect that with a basic username and password if I wanted to. I could also have OAuth enabled. And if I had OAuth enabled, then you'd have to log in. And so that feature right there, I have used to share private keys. I have used to share secrets like passwords, where JWTs from OpenZiti itself, when you enroll in an OpenZiti tunneler, you need a secret to JWT. So I've used this to transfer JWTs. That is easily my favorite feature. It's the public sharing of zrok and the ease of it. Lots of people really like the private sharing though, where you can do things like run a game server and tunnel securely without having to open holes in your firewall, and it's NAT friendly. So I'd say those are like my two main ones. A lot of cool features in zrok though. Like really, there really are a lot of features if you do a zrok help. The Another interesting one to me is the backend mode of Caddy. I have not explored the Caddy backend all that much, but I do think that is powerful. I've seen some users using that recently that have opened my eyes to the cool things you could do with Caddy. All right. Do you have any plans to add MS Microsoft Entra as an OAuth provider? Um, I would think that it would just be a would think you would that OIDC is a standard. You would think that every single implementation is identical, and it turns out it's kind of a pain. And the reason why it's a pain is because when you configure OIDC in Ziti, you need to know certain things, and then you need to know what the shape of the JWT that comes back. Let's see if we can go find basic. What's the flow called? PKCE flow diagram. So the short answer is it should be all should be supported. We're in a longer answer now. Why it's complicated? Let's see. That is not PKCE flow. I want the PKCE. Here we go. Let's click on this. Yeah. So user tries to access a resource, and the user is redirected to some login provider like Google. Google then, well, when you try to access, say, zrok, it'll say you're not logged in. You need to go and authenticate, and then it'll show you, what do you have to authenticate. If it's one of those types of things, like Keycloak will show you Google or GitHub or whatever you've federated to. Like if I go to my Brozac right now, you'll see what I mean. When I go to my browser, it has Keycloak in front of it, and Keycloak is federated to both GitHub and Google. So I could pick either of these two things and log into my Keycloak server, well, into my browser server. So I oftentimes will use GitHub and then submit that. And then this is browser now working through OIDC. So when I do this, it'll go out to GitHub, and you'll get back a JWT. And that JWT you can't access this website without going through browser. That JWT will need to have certain fields mapped, and OpenZiti needs to know what those fields are. When I did the same sort of thing with, was it Authentic? I did it recently. I did it with another provider, and the OIDC server itself did not provide a common field like email address. It required me to use their ID field, and that was a pain. And so the long answer is it really does depend on the OIDC provider. We have to configure it just right. If we make it generic and allow you to tell zrok what the right fields are, then that would probably be the right way to go. So I would imagine at some point it would become very generic and allow you to configure the right fields. And then there should just be documentation guides that say, listen, if you're going to use MS Entra, then you should, put this field in. This is the field that you want to use. And then, of course, the next level of support of that to make it even easier is to have Xerox just natively know what the field will be, and then deal with whenever Entra changes that field name from one thing to something else. So like subject is one of those ones that's very common and often used, but you have to know what the identity is. And email is actually often it's a bit easier because you can set the stuff up ahead of time. So should be supported at some point. Don't know exactly when. However, good other point is if you come out to the Zrok GitHub project, you'll see that Michael Quigley does do a great job at maintaining the roadmap right here. And so if you come out and look at the roadmap, you can see 5, I think is 5 next. I think we're on 4, right? Xerox version. Yeah, we're on 4. So Xerox 5 is the next set. And so you can paw through here and look. And then if you don't see your favorite provider like OAuth, then you come back to where, how do you get back here? Come on, GitHub. I want to go back to issues. Go to issues. No, not all GitHub. That's just silly. There should be a button here somewhere that lets me go back to my Xerox issues. And we type in Entra. And I don't see it in here. So it seems like it's not slated on the background and probably not going to be asked for yet. So if you want MS Entra, then I would say go toss in. Now, another thing, really important, open source project. We are sponsored and NetFoundry employees, right? So we do sell OpenZiti and Xerox as services. And so there's a company that's behind all this stuff, but we have limited resources. And because of that, if you have something that is interesting and you would use, then please ask for it in discourse, ask for it in GitHub issues, and don't feel free to come back and say any update. That sort of engagement from the community helps us prioritize what is interesting and exciting for the community, and we are more apt to implement features for people asking for them. So, good question. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's go back to, I was just checking out more. I was going back to the, and again, any questions out there from anybody? I don't know if we're live, but as the little crawler here says, feel free to ask questions. I don't know if it would be nice if I could make it move across the screen there, but we can just leave that little banner up. This is an office hours. We are exploring Xerox. We are reading through the READMEs and just doing various interesting things with Xerox. Right now, permission mode is interesting. I have used this. So right out of the gate, right, OpenZiti is a zero trust overlay network, and because of which it is really focused on tight security. Xerox is really focused on easy sharing. And so as the question from Rudford was asked, what's my favorite capability? The public sharing through a Xerox private share, public share is really interesting. That is a public share though. And because it's public, it is not as secure as something that is private. It just can't be, right? Because it's public. I did talk about having the username and password, the basic authentication. I did talk about using OAuth if you had OAuth enablement on your Xerox instance. But another thing you can do is this, what do we call it? Front end grants or private, permission models. And so if we were to go back, I don't know if can I make a new user? I know that at one point we added a new, I think it's under admin, Xerox admin, create account. And I want to create an account. So you have to give it a config path. This is great because, actually, let me go to, if you go to my Xerox, if you were to go here and you were to, all right, I want to log out. And you wanted to sign in, you can't sign into this, but what you could do is I need a new machine somewhere. What I'm trying to do is make a new machine where I can sign in as a different user. So we'll go to this other machine, zrok disable. And then I will do a zrok, and there's a set API. Where is the command to set the API? Oh, so let's do a zrok status. Create a local environment, enable API. And this is set RM access version update test status share RM reserve release overview move modify config. That's where it is, way up there. Config. So zrok config set API endpoint that, and then if I do a zrok status. Okay, so what I did there is I changed the default zrok endpoint from api.zrok.io, the network as a service that NetFoundry provides, to my personal one, api.clint.demo. And so here I can do a zrok invite, and this is going to be, let's call it other at, actually it's just other at ZDTV, other at ZDTV, and submit. When I do that, I don't have email set up. So I have to figure out what that, what that password or what that enable token is. So if I do a journal CTL, FU, just U, zrok controller, I think. Yeah. Go to the end. And then I want no pager. Okay. Account for Ziti has registration token of this. So now what I can do is I can come over to here and I can register that token. And so now it wants me to set a password, and I'm going to use the same password I've been using, ZDTV. Oh, requires a digit. Let's do 1 exclamation. I don't know if whatever it needs 1. Also, password policy, something that you can set on your own. It is a zrok configuration. Okay. And so now I can enable this environment. Thought I did that. Yeah, okay. Oh, I did it on the wrong machine. All right, zrok disable. I see, I didn't go far enough. This is the one I wanted to enable. So this is the other machine. And this is the machine I now have to go back and re-enable. So let me go back to here. And hopefully this will, hello? Hello? Okay, there you are. ZTTV at ZDTV, okay. And re-enable this one because I screwed one up. I disabled the wrong one. Yeah, this is the one I want. Okay, that's the one I wanted. All right, great. So now we have 2 different users, and I have 2 different users, and I was trying to, if I remember where I was trying to, permission modes. Yeah, I wanted to be able to access the service by itself. Not available with public mode, but is available with private mode. So if I do a this is the other ZD. Okay, zrok share. Actually, let's make a zrok test endpoint out here. Go back to this machine. If we do a zrok share private this time, and do a help. Let me make this bigger so we can read it. All right, access grant. zrok accounts that are allowed to access this share, C -- closed. And then -- closed, enable closed permission mode, C access grant. So why did you change that? All right, I wanted to be able to see the help. Windows terminal, go figure. All right, so zrok share. Fine, I want to type the help again because I want to see it. zrok share private closed access grant, and then it says the accounts that are allowed to access the share other at ZDTV. TV. Oops, I didn't give it a local host 9090. Okay, what? Unknown flag closed. Okay, and so now zrok access. Oh, but I did it. I shared this from the other. That's my mistake. I needed to share this. I needed to give this user access. So it's not other at ZDTV. It's actually ZDTV at ZDTV. Now this is one machine. Let's do this so that we can see it better and more obvious. All right, so this machine in the top left is where we're going to share the resource. The machine in the bottom right is where we'll access that resource. So you'll do a zrok share private closed access grant to ZDTV on 9090. So now this entity down here should be able to run zrok access private. And it can. And let's just prove that we can get there by going to a new window. This is out in Amazon land, so we have to SSH back to CD zrok and then curl to HTTP. And you can see we get HTTP stuff back. Fantastic. Now, if we come back to here and we change the email address, right, the username, just add a, okay, so that's fun. Zrok is actually smart enough to know that you can't share with people that aren't there. So let's just share this with ourselves and only ourselves. And so now on this machine, if I were to try to access this privately, it's going to tell me access is unauthorized because I only granted access to myself, basically to myself, to access this particular share. And so that's why it's not available through publicly, because this is all about how you access the share. And so if you give it public access, well, then you have to protect it either with OAuth or you have to protect it with basic username and password. But if you have a private share, then you can protect it using the account that you want to give access to, or accounts. And so here we are, another ephemeral share created. Actually, let's do it up here. Let's paste it just one time. All right, and now we can do our curl again, and we can access that share again. And so what we did there is we went from one Amazon machine up into the Amazon machine that runs my zrok instance, over to the other Amazon machine and return data. And as far as humans go, I don't. There doesn't seem to be any delay whatsoever, and that's typical. It's typical performance for an OpenZiti overlay. All the security and still great performance. All right, that's permission modes. Let's see, limit classes. I'm not going to put limits on my own public sharing or my own zrok sharing. That's again more for people who are trying to run a network as a service like zrok.io. Fix feature. Node support for the zrok SDK. Maybe we'll look at SDK someday, but not today. A Docker Compose project for self-hosting zrok and a guide. All right. Well, as we started out, you saw me start everything up using my own personal scripts. There's also a self-hosting guide for Docker, and probably Ken. Let's see. Is this going to be Ken? Yeah, it's Ken. There he is. Come on, where's Ken? There's Ken. Oh, all right. There's Ken. All right, so Ken's out there and showing you how to run the self-hosting guide for Docker. I kind of want to go through that. I haven't actually done this myself. I do have a wildcard DNS config. By far, this is the hardest part, in my opinion, for zrok, is getting that wildcard domain. If you're good at that, then great. But if you've never done it before, it can be a pain. There are some things like Caddy. Always look at this. In fact, Ken does use it. In this example, it uses a Caddy DNS plugin with your provider. So all you would need to do is give the configuration your Amazon credentials or Azure or Google or GoDaddy or whatever your DNS provider. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you haven't seen this. There are so many providers. Like, that's just the A through I's, and then there's this whole other I through V, I guess. So there's lots of these things out here. Caddy, great project. Again, if you haven't given Caddy a star, not to the cat, I mean, you can give the Caddy DNS a star, but go out No, where's the Caddy project? Is it called Caddy project? Caddy.community. Anyway, also a great open source project. Go and give them stars too if you haven't, because Zrok does leverage Caddy. Let's see, what else is interesting in here? It's 40 minutes in. I don't know if we're still having fun, but I'm still having fun. I haven't played with this stuff recently. Let me go back and look at the, nope, not this. I want to see my change log again. Okay, no. Yes. Docker Compose. I might come back to that. Let's open that up. And then feature, Compose project, change Docker sharing guide. VPN mode, also interesting. Let's try the VPN mode real quick. I know I did do a ZDTV on this like a month ago, maybe, but if you haven't tried this, this is also pretty interesting. So it says zrok share private. Now notice it says sudo. So sudo is going to be a little special because we're going to have to enable, come on. Oh, actually, we don't if we pass it with -e, I think, right? Where we preserve the environment. Let's give that a go. So let's try. Let's see what happens when I do a zrok share private backend mode VPN. Now let's do a zrok -e share private VPN. Wrong. Oh man, I got to remember what this is. This is a good trick that my buddy Eugene showed me. Let's see, preserve env when sudo. I thought it was -e. Maybe it's capital E. There we go. It's capital E. I knew it was an E. And so now we have a share on that VPS, virtual private server, and it's running a VPN, a zrok VPN. Over here, access private. Failed to create ioctl because it probably needs sudo if it's given that problem. So it's just saying it failed to create a ton interface. A ton is a layer 3 interface IP address as opposed to a TAP, which is a level 2 or layer 2. So let's do a sudo access. And again, we have the same problem. So we'll do a -e. And now we are connected to VPN. You can see I have a IP address. Over here, we had that test endpoint running. So I should be able to do a curl http //paste 99090 and failed to connect. I thought that was what I needed to do. I am pretty sure. Let's see, ifconfig. Let's come back over. Let's call ifconfig. Byte grep 10. 10.122.0.1. 10.122.0.1. Huh. I don't know what I did wrong here. Test endpoint 9090. Yeah. Ping. Okay, I get a reply. 9090. Curl. Failed to connect to the port. 9090. Connection refused. Don't know what I did wrong on that one. Let's see. I'm not going to have a port listening. It does. Let's see. I'm going to come over to here. Make sure that 9090 is listening. Okay. Access the VPN. So it shows me that 10.2, 122.0.3 connected. So it is working, but for a reason I don't understand, port 9090 is, that's actually, it must be every time I do this then. There it goes. Yeah. And now .4. Oh, so every time we're getting a new address, every time we disconnect or reconnect, we're getting a new IP address. Curl 192. That's the right. 9090 is the right one. Is it? Oh. I know why. So this is going to be. Whoops, I can't actually. Let's run up my test endpoint again. I'm going to disconnect the VPN. And this time I'm going to do an SS -LNTP and find 9090. Aha. There's why. So this is a tricky little thing that traps up even people like me. who've done this before. It's listening on the local interface. It's not listening on the IP address 10 dot whatever. It's specifically listening only on localhost. So what we need is if test endpoint can bind on a different port or a different address. And so here we can use the address instead of 127.0.0.1, we can use the address of 0.0.0.0. And so now what will happen is if I'm on the same machine, let's see, 172. So now I can do a curl to http / 172.31.47.200.90.90, and I'll get HTML back. Let me go back, start my backend mode, VPN. Let me share that VPN. Failed to create, oh yeah, sudo again. VPN maybe, reset. VPN should probably say you got to run this as sudo, but that's all right. Sudo -e. Let's bring this back on the screen so we can see it. Now, when I do this, there we go. Now we get our data back. I could also do an SSH from here to 10.122.0.1, and we'll get an SSH prompt just like that. So VPN, also a relatively new feature of zrok, not the hide my internet type of VPN, the other kind of VPN where you just have connectivity from one place to another place. So if you know how to set up a proxy or do whatever you want to do with that, you can do whatever you want to do with that. All right, let's see what else is interesting in here. Feature permission modes. Socks. Oh yeah, socks is cool. I've not used the socks example. Where does the socks come from in here? This is also exciting. Socks. New feature, socks backend mode for use with private sharing. So if you do a zrok share private backend mode of socks and then zrok access private, this is the this is where you can set up your browser or your computer to use a socks proxy, and then actually have all your traffic tunnel through that exit endpoint. I've not done it myself, so I should probably do it before we try it online. Let's see, socks proxy. But if you go out and you do the Googling, what's a socks proxy? You can learn all about what a socks proxy is. Also, one of those other features of zrok, and you can see you can configure this obviously looks like a Windows. I think that's going to probably be enough. No more questions have come in, so that's cool. It's a little tour of some interesting things of zrok. I would like to go through and maybe try the caddy stuff. If Ken were here, we could do some even more interesting and exciting things. He's been really pushing the limits of caddy and zrok lately, so maybe we can get him back on and he can show us some of the stuff that he's been doing. And until that time, let's see, how do I hide the share? Turn off the share. See, this new UI is really killing me. I don't know how to do this. So, all right, I know. We'll just do it this way. Perfect. There we go. All right. So until next time, it's Ziti TV for the week. Hope you had fun. Hope you learned some zrok. Hope that was exciting. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Oh, don't forget to give the project some stars, right? Ziti, zrok, all those good